Welcome back. Today, part of our treasure haul from Target included this pizza from a company called Fara. I've never heard of them before. I've never seen this available in any grocery store ever before. And it looks really, really good. It says, let me get my glasses. It says, Fara, a Brooklyn legend, established 1965, pepperoni pizza, mozzarella, pepperoni, basil, tomato sauce, the holy grail of New York style classic crust, or classic pizza from New York Magazine. Says, as reviewed by Dave Portnoy, a 9.4. Well, here's the problem. I am jealous of Dave Portnoy's success, but he's a sports bro. You know what I mean? Like, these weren't the people I hung out with in school. These were the people that pushed me in a locker. These were the people who bullied me because I was the nerd. And the folks like Dave Portnoy were the jocks, and they were into the sports. And, his taste in pizza, like, he's not a fan of Neapolitan pizza, which, in my opinion, if you're not a fan of the original pizza, how can you claim to be a fan of pizza? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I have gone to some places that he has recommended, and I did not care for them. So that's a good thing to know about a reviewer. My reviews may be the same for you. You may not share my values, and that's okay. But this doesn't mean a whole lot to me. If anything, that worries me, because now I'm afraid I'm not going to like it, given the track record in my experience with Dave Portnoy. But boy, I would love to trade places with him and have his reputation for pizza reviews. But none of it means I've got to give up my particular flavor preferences. On the back, a little bit about Fara. I don't know who they are. Domenico DeMarco left Italy for Brooklyn, where he opened a modest pizzeria in 1965. Half a century later, his pizza, with its signature crust and basil, is rightly hailed as a New York City institution and is a permanent fixture on best pizza lists. Now try his family recipe for yourself from the comfort of home. Preheat the oven to 450 degrees and bake for 12 to 14 minutes. Interestingly, it says it's got sourdough. Now, I've heard of, look, I've been in New York. I've had pizza in New York. I don't think it's all it's cracked up to be. I think if you grew up there, then me talking about it is insulting, that it's not the best thing in the world. There are some really good pizzas in New York. If we talk about Patsy's and Grimaldi's and things like that, yes, yes, yes. But just the average ordinary pizza place with the greasy, floppy, folded in half, it's pizza. No two pizza places in New York taste the same. They're similar in how it's a thin crust and you fold it in half, and you better hold it away because it's going to drip if you're standing and eating it, because there's often nowhere to sit. You better make a little room for the grease to drip so it doesn't get on your clothes or your shoes. But that doesn't mean they all taste alike. You can go from one mom and pop pizza place to the next one. They're everywhere, and they're going to taste very different. They're all going to look alike, though. If you're a tourist, they all look alike, and it would make sense that you'd say, well, they probably all taste the same. They do not. So despite the fact that I've never heard of Fara, I am a big, big fan of Grimaldi's. It's one of my favorite pizza places. And, their slogan is, they're the pizza place that made the Brooklyn Bridge famous, because it's located right under the Brooklyn Bridge. This is also a Brooklyn pizza. And, well, let's take a look at it. Let's open up the box. So before anybody from New York takes offense, there's good pizza and bad pizza everywhere you go. Some people from Connecticut would say, or even Massachusetts, would say they've got the best pizzas in their style, Connecticut style pizza, New England style. I don't want clams on my pizza. There's no way. I'm trying it. I don't want it. You can have it. And that might offend some people who like that style of pizza or live in that region and grew up with it. I grew up in Detroit. We don't eat that. So I have my own biases, and everybody else has theirs. And there's bad pizza in Detroit too, everywhere you go. Well, first of all, this shows up a little bit thicker and deeper than I was expecting. The edge of the crust is a good level higher than the base that everything sits on. That is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just not completely flat like what we've often seen from these style of pizzas. Now, I don't like the style of cheese they're using on this. It looks like it's diced cheese, not shredded, not whole slices of fresh mozz. And again, that would be typical of a New York pizza, to just, you know, have a big container of diced up cheese and grab a couple handfuls and sprinkle it on. That's not the Italian way. Even though many of the New York pizza places are run by Italians, they've modified, they've adjusted. Now, the other thing I'm seeing on this that I'm not much caring for is how thick these pepperonis are sliced. I like my pepperonis to be thin so that they can cook and become crispy. These will never get that way. They are cut 1/4 of an inch thick. That's way too thick for me. And we've got basil on there. So I'll tell you what, enough talking. Let's get it in the oven. Let's get it cooked. I'm a little disappointed with what I'm seeing, but it can more than make up for it if the flavor's there. We're gonna go find out right now. Oh my. Does this question everything I think I know about pizza? Because that sure does look and smell really good. Am I wrong? With my previous experience with Dave Portnoy, is he actually recommending something I can agree with him on? It really looks promising. Let's go find out. Baked at the recommended temperature for the recommended time. It came out exactly like the way I was expecting. I didn't have to make any modifications or adjustments outside of the directions. That's a good sign. These pepperoni are very greasy. New York pizza is traditionally very greasy. Whether it's the cheese or the pepperoni, it's going to be dripping if it's a real New York style pizza. Price, we paid $9.99 for this. Seems like a pretty good deal. I am surprised at the height of the crust at the corners, at the edges, not the corners. You can see, like right here, how high up that is and how far it goes down. And I wasn't expecting that much bread on a New York pizza, but it's not a bad thing. It's just different than expected. And then if we take a couple of pieces here and pull them apart, let that cool off a little bit, we can get our first bite. I will say I am worried these pepperonis are just too darn thick for my preference, but let me give it a shot. Oh. Oh. No, no. No. Bad. Bad pepperoni. I don't know what that is. Look, it's pepperoni, it's going to be salty, and it's greasy, and it's thick. So you get even more grease and even more salt. And whatever they've made this pepperoni out of, I don't know what that is. It doesn't taste like any pepperoni I've ever had before. All right, I'm going to peel some of these pepperonis off of here because now I'm worried. Crust? I didn't show you the crust, did I? We didn't even look at it. It looks pretty well cooked. When I was cutting it with the pizza wheel, it was cutting through it very, very crispy, which is a good sign. So it seemed to cook. And if I can tilt this without all the pizza toppings sliding off, you can get a quick look at the underside. It looks really good as far as how it cooked, the way the cheese melted. Again, I have some reservations, and that pepperoni is verifying and vindicating my reservations, but maybe the rest of the pizza can make up for it. If I can keep the pizza on. This is another problem with New York pizzas. Crust is fantastic. The sauce, there's too much sauce. It's almost soupy. And the sauce has some spices in it that it's just overpowering everything. The sauce is what you taste over and above. You know, the crust doesn't carry a lot of flavor, but it should still, you know, add a little something. That sauce is so overpowering for me personally. Just having cheese in the sauce, skipping the pepperoni entirely, Let me give it a few more bites. Okay, so what this tastes like to me is a breadstick. It tastes like we've got a breadstick, and maybe it's got some cheese on it, and you're dipping it into a marinara. So you're getting an overwhelming amount of marinara, not so much of anything else. And the bread itself, it's not garlicky flavored. It doesn't have any flavor of its own. It's there as a support mechanism to deliver the rest of the food. It tastes like a little teeny tiny baguette. It's really hard on the outside. It's, if you had some butter on it, oh man, I could just eat that. But as a pizza crust, I don't feel the crust is doing its job here. It's doing the bare minimum. So it would just get a bare minimum compliment. These pepperoni, wow. See, and this is a problem. It's the toppings that can make or break the pizza so often. And here's an example of that. Maybe with more toppings, that sauce wouldn't stand out so boldly. On a score of 0 to 10, Dave Portnoy gave this a 9.4. Sorry, Dave. I know you really care what I think, but that's a 6. That's a 6. That's a solid 6 all day long. I don't want it to be low. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being honest. Yeah, that's not going to be another purchase for me. I don't care for it. That's not to say I wouldn't try some of the other toppings, because it could be just the toppings for me. I don't know. I am concerned about the grated cheese like that. That just doesn't. It cooked well though. It smells great. It looks great. But I've had better for the same price, even less money. I've had better. So yeah, I'm disappointed that this isn't what it was made out to be. That leads me to one final theory. Sometimes when you rate something really, really high, you're setting it up for failure. Because if I give a pizza a 10, and I will, there are some 10s coming up, then the people who buy that and try it have expectations that may be higher than my own. They may have expectations that are not even possible to meet. And they're listening to me tell them this is a 10. You can't go any higher than a 10. So they think this is going to equal what they think is a 10, and it doesn't. And so if I didn't set that up that way, if I said, oh, this is an 8, and people try it, they go, oh, no, he's wrong. This is easily a 9. You understand what I'm saying? Even if it's not their 10, they'd still like it. But if I say it's a 10 and to them it's still a 9, then I'm like, oh, this isn't as good as I was hoping for. So you're almost better off short selling it and letting people decide the value on their own, versus convincing everybody this has the highest value possible, because you're almost setting yourself up for people to disagree with you, because what their highest value possible is different from my own. So I just want to put it out there in case you're one of those people. Before you do it, yeah, you'll do it anyway. Who are we kidding? Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll stick around and watch our next frozen pizza review coming very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.